Hi, this is Alexander from CovidGraph.org, and in this video I will show you how to load genes, pathways, tissues, proteins, publications, patents, and much more information that is connected in our CovidGraph. When we start here, we have the Visual Graph Explorer, and you see this big screen here where you have your results, you have the search bar on top of it, you can filter your search queries here for entities. Once you click on a specific node in our covered graph, you get detailed information here on the right. When you use the trash bin, you can clear the graph. So that's basically the user interface. And when we start here, I will show you how to look for, let's say, genes here. And we start with the gene ACE2, which is the main receptor the coronavirus uses to intrude the cell. So we have the gene here, you can drag that around, you can right mouse click here and load, for example, in what pathway it is active. And what you can see here is a filtered list. You can either click on one of them or on all, and we load the selected pathways here. And you see already here the information that this gene is related to infectious diseases and SARS-CoV-2 infection and so on and so forth. We can do a right mouse click here and have a look for the proteins that are encoded by the gene ACE2. And this is usually done by using ACE2 as a search query in UniProt. We already connected this to the CovidGraph, so we immediately get all the entries from UniProt, and we just load them here. And you see here the loaded entities in UniProt with the UniProt identifiers. Now you can ask the question, in which tissue is ACE2 expressed? And we do that by the right mouse click, and we say here, load the expressed tissues. And this is what we get. We just load the first 10 of the 33 tissues, and then you see the expressed tissues where it's expressed. For example, ovaries or colon sigmoid or bladder and so on and so forth. Now when we loaded here the entity's molecular descriptions, we can also load the papers where ACE2 as a receptor is mentioned. And this is what we're doing now. So we're doing right mouse click and say load the mentioning papers. And there we browse through all the 130,000 publications about the coronavirus here in the background, and we are loading here, let's say 10 from 150, just for performance wise. And you see here in these papers, ACE2 is not only mentioned, but there are authors that write something about the infection and the pathway and so on. And when we click here on the publication, on the left side you see when this was published, the title of the paper, the abstract. If we have a full text available, you can see the full text. You can see all the other genes that are mentioned, and of course the authors of the paper. And we do that here, for example, we do right mouse click and say load the related authors. And we take all the authors, so let's load them all, and you see at this specific paper the author. Let's do another example here. Let's click on, for example, this paper here. You have the abstract, you can read the abstract, find information. We even have the full text here available. We have some more genes that are mentioned here, and as I said, we got the authors. So let's load the authors here. And we also load here the affiliation. So where does this paper come from? University of Feinberg School of Medicine. We can load that as well. We have this information. And now it's also interesting to not only see the scientific world and the scientific publications here, but we can also browse ACE2 and where is it mentioned in which patents that is owned by a company. So are there any information in patents? And this is what we can do, like with load mentioning patents. and this little bug here. So usually you should have the preview here. We just load the selected patents, and there you can see the patents here and read about the information. So here's the title. We got the URL to the patent. Other titles here in French, for example, because this is translated into another language. We see when this patent was published, so quite some time ago. If we have information on the abstract here and on the mentioned genes that are also mentioned in this patent. We can also load the applying entities, so the company that's behind this patent, for example, and we can click on that here, and that's the University of Erasmus Medical CT. Yeah, so this is the first overview of what you can do in CovidGraph by browsing genes, proteins, tissues, publications, patents, and their entities. And I hope you enjoyed this session, and see you for the next session.